Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. You're not going to get boring content. No one's going to offend you. No one's going to attack you. We're going to talk boxing and have conversations. Also, make sure to hit that like button. I'd appreciate that too. Now, let's jump into it. Boom! Earl Spence is out here like, y'all talk too much, man. And you know why? Because Frank Martin spilled the baked beans. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to tell you what it is. Because when I tried to share the audio or even the video, all kind of copyright flags popped up. So I'm not going to lose my channel. But I'll go ahead and tell you what happened. Anyway, we all know it, Fast Eddie. That man can't hold water. Remember when Fast Eddie came down to Texas to check on Anthony Joshua, as Anthony Joshua was maybe a couple of weeks out from the Frank Martin fight. Fast Eddie, while he was down there in the camp, he just happened to be there when Earl Spence was sparring 12 to 15 hard rounds. Now, we all know you don't just spar 12 to 15 hard rounds just to stay busy, just to keep the ring rust off. When Fast Eddie came out and he announced that to the world, right? I immediately caught on to what he said. And I was like, wow, Fast Eddie is out here spilling the beans. I said, well, shit, if Earl Spence is sparring 15 hard rounds, then that means Earl Spence is out here getting ready for the Crawford fight. Now, not many people caught on to what I was saying. Some people like, hey, Hood Champion, man, you know you're interpreting that wrong. I said, hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. I don't think I'm interpreting any wrong. Matter of fact, I got a lot of experience with interpreting body language, words, and even if they don't have a clear meaning, I can sort it out based on what someone's saying or what they're implying. So long story short, a couple of weeks after that, you hear the talks about Spence, Crawford, a phone call, sorting out the financial details. I said, okay. Well, there you go. Eddie Hearn spilled the beans. Derek James was pissed off by Eddie Hearn out there talking about Earl Spence because, look, whether you like Earl Spence, you like Eddie Hearn, you don't like them or not, you think Derek James is being too protective? Look, the fact is, Eddie Hearn is in that camp for Anthony Joshua and Anthony Joshua only. It's not his business to go back and report what he's seeing happening down there in Dallas between Derek James and Earl Spence. So they were pissed off with him. And to be honest, I can't blame them. So long story short, Eddie Hearn hasn't said a damn thing about Earl Spence since. Because we know Derek James has no problem with kicking him or anybody out of his camp. Now, that being said, the boxing community has sat there and kind of got quiet. Some people have given up hope on Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford. Then you get Steven Espinoza. He keeps coming out and saying he's hopeful, he's optimistic. I believe we'll get it, right? No problem. But still not coming out and saying for sure if the fight's going to happen, where it's going to happen, how much they're going to make, what's going on with this whole WBC lockdown where fighters have been inactive for over a year, right? Nothing at all going on, but still kind of giving us a little bit of hope. He never said no, the fight's not happening. So then Frank Martin gets interviewed this past weekend. And they asked Frank Martin, when are you returning to the ring? Now, we need to understand something. Frank Martin fights on the undercards of Earl Spence, right? Because Earl Spence is his promoter. And when Earl Spence fights, for the most part, Frank Martin fights. So Frank Martin said, I should be returning probably June or July. So the guy who was interviewing him, he picked his mouth. That's what we say out there in Trinidad and Tobago, and some other Caribbean islands may say that. You picked your mouth, which means they got you to say something that you normally wouldn't have said. But the guy doing the interview, he just totally set him up. And as soon as Frank Martin said, I'll probably return around June or July, You know he got a bunch. You know Frank Martin got some serious teeth. You know what I'm saying? He just started grinning and showing all 32 of those permanent teeth. And the interviewer was like, "Oh, so does that mean you're fighting on the undercard of Spence and Crawford? It means Spence is fighting in June or July?" Because the damn reporter was locked and loaded. He was waiting for Frank Martin to slip up and say something. And Frank Martin was there trying to backpedal, like, I don't know about what they're doing. But he was laughing. Like, you could tell he got caught. You know what I mean? He already spilled the goddamn baked beans. There was nothing that could be done. So that being said, for all you people out there, I just want to go ahead and tell you that Frank Martin inadvertently told us that Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford are going to be fighting either June or July, because we know Frank Martin doesn't come back to the ring to fight on his own card headlining like what Boots Ennis is trying to do, and he's not fighting on the undercard of anyone. He fights of anyone outside of Errol Spence. So that being said, it's May. I tell you what, if he's fighting in June or July, there's got to be some kind of announcement soon. There's got to be some kind of promotion. There has to be something. I personally think Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford are going to the Middle East. I've been saying that. I'm going to keep saying that. But if not, something has to happen. But I think we're going to find out sooner than later, because Frank Martin has now spilled the beans. Eddie Hearn has kind of spilled the beans. And Errol Spence is sitting there in Dallas, Texas, talking about, y'all talk too much, man. That being said, let's see what happens. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. And I'm in the breeze.